News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM. Dave Wolf, Brett Witkowski here at Dickinson Stadium in St. Joe, wrapping up St. Joe's 35-14 win over Lakeshore. St. Joe's third straight win over Lakeshore. The series is now down to one-game lead for Lakeshore, 37-36. But really, right now, it's all about St. Joe's play in the second half was stellar.
Yeah, especially the fourth quarter where they ended up putting up 14 points and defensively able to shut out Lakeshore and really Griffiths in the second half. And kudos to that athlete, Griffiths, for Lakeshore. He's a Johnny Manziel without all the problems. I mean, he's a one-man wrecking crew. There's many times St. Joe thought they had him. He would sidestep for 360 and break away. And once that young man figures out how to throw the ball, you got to remember he's only been playing quarterback for 12 days.
Yeah.
Lakeshore's offense goes from not being able to score the first 2 weeks to being productive.
I mean, Lakeshore's two scores in the first half were off of big plays.
Right.
Off the play, and that's one thing St. Joe really hasn't played against this year is a passing quarterback. Edwardsburg run, Niles was all run. Lloyd North was maybe a little mix into both. Gull Lake was trying to pass, but they didn't really have much of an offense. But this week, St. Joe truly played a passing team with Lakeshore. And Caden Griffith, like you said, a young quarterback because he's only been playing quarterback for 12 days. And he's got the speed. He's just got to get the ability to play at quarterback.
Right. And Lakeshore has to develop plays for him, which they will. The flip side of it is then there's more film for defensive coordinators to figure out how to defend him. So there's always the catch-22. But I'll give Griffiths, I mean, he's not just one of the best athletes in the area, one of the best in the entire state.
I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, St. Joe had one game of film on him for the Kansas Central game. And I think they had a half of experience, and they made the right adjustments in the second half to shut Lakeshore down the rest of the way.
And we talked about that during the broadcast, is the adjustments made at halftime, both offensively and defensively. For lots of sports can win or lose ball games. And St. Joe, I thought, made some good adjustments, especially on the defensive side, to slow him down and contain him in that second half.
This game could have gone very differently. Late in the first half, the game tied at 14. St. Joe had a chance to go up 3, go up another 7, but they did not get any points. They had it first and goal, and didn't come in with any points. Then conversely, Lakeshore gets the ball coming out of the second half. And if Lakeshore goes down the field, they can take the lead.
You're exactly right.
I mean, it was a big sequence of events from the first half to the second half, but St. Joe's defense stepped up and just kept Lakeshore from really doing anything.
You're exactly right.
Forces a punt on that first series.
Right. That bad snap. But you're exactly right, Dave. Come out to the locker, coming out half, being downfield, you could sense momentum was more on Lakeshore's side from the fans' standpoint. I think Lakeshore, St. Joe, like, what's going on here? Well, why is it 21-14? And if they do score, like you said, all of a sudden they grab that and it's a whole different ballgame. Instead, they didn't. Now St. Joe didn't do anything with the return series. They went 3 and out. But the fact is, they didn't give anything to start. And I think, what teams like to do is they love to get the last possession in the first half, and then love to get the first possession in the second half, and try to go up 2 scores just from that.
Doubling up.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, that didn't happen. St. Joe was able to hold Lakeshore out 0 for 2, and then they were able to, then I think physically just run them down with, Dixon having 177 yards and 31 carries. He had a bum ankle at halftime. He was trying to get that thing loose. You had Caden McClare, 149 yards and 20 carries at the quarterback position. Gabe King has 76 yards and Malone 24. St. Joe, 432 yards on the ground. You can get over 400 yards of offense at this level, and what I mean is Division 4 and higher.
Yeah.
You're going to win a lot of ball games.
With St. Joe, like I say, I think this was probably Caden LeClaire's spotlight game.
I agree.
Not only is it the rivalry game, but he stepped into what he had to do. I mean, he played the offense. He ran what he had to do. I mean, Dixon, himself, King, Malone, he distributed the ball where he needed to, when he needed to, and he made big plays when he had to. And he said over 120 yards and 149 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And on top of that, Dave, sometimes it's what a quarterback doesn't do. And what he didn't do, throw interceptions. He didn't make bad pitches. There was a one fumble, I think, on fourth down, center exchange. I think he just pulled out, but that's not necessarily a turnover per se. Just didn't make it on fourth down. And so him stepping in quarterback role full time, as of last week, he's done a great job. And coming into the season, it wasn't like he was number 2 in the depth chart. He was more 1B. With Horning being 1A. So, that helped out. I think also having Hopkins back out there at the wideout. He made some great catches. He had a great catch on a 3rd down and 10. Too many receivers will run an 8-yard route or a 7-yard route. They don't understand. You got to hit the first down marker. Yeah. Usually a yard or 2 behind pass and then come back to the ball. And he did that perfectly. He went out there and then came back and got the ball. And, it's all those type of plays. I will say Lakeshore, I think, took Atterbury out of the ballgame from an offensive standpoint. They did not let him go deep or anything like that. And then on the defensive side, I thought for St. Joe did a great job. Dominic Fennell, he had 9 tackles. Cody didn't have any tackles at halftime. He ended up with 8. But then for Lakeshore, Drew Petsky hit 11 tackles. I thought Lakeshore's defense did well. I think where Lakeshore's defense it needs to improve on is their size.
They were much improved from that run defense that they had last year.
Oh, yeah. This is a 100% improvement team over last season. Totally different, to their credit. The biggest difference, and the higher you sit up, the more is definitive, is the difference in size. St. Joe guy, offense line is 250, 300 pounds. Lakeshore's D-line, I don't think they had anybody over 210. I mean, it was such a disparity. But even with that, they fought through, Lakeshore did, and they made a lot of good tackles. But they didn't make really any tackles for loss of yards throughout the night.
The ones that St. Joe had were because of missteps in the backfield by Griffiths, or bad snap or penalty. Yeah. But I think the defenses on both sides of the ball, on both sides, played really well. But I think St. Joe, I would say they had the more yards per play. And when you're gaining 3, 4, 5, you're getting like 6, 7, 8 yards of play. I mean, St. Joe had a 95-yard drive in 5 plays. Right. And they had another 80-yard drive in another 6 plays.
Well, if you look at St. Joe's 3 top runners, here's their yards per carry: 5.7, 7.4, and 15.2. Yeah. I mean, those are a lot of yards per carry. That's every 2 runs is a first down.
And St. Joe dominated in the stats in the first downs. I think.
It was 26 to 11. 26, I think at halftime it was 19 to 4. So in the third quarter there was only I think 3 possessions, and that was because neither team had big plays and neither team
passed the ball. Yeah. So St. Joe improves to 3-2, above 500 for the first time this season. Lakeshore falls to 1-4. So St. Joe next week goes into Portage Northern. Yeah. We all know that Portage Northern is a darn good team, and it'll probably be an offensive scoring fest because St. Joe and Portage Northern, the yards just add up.
They do. And, St. Joe, their last 4 games, they've got 2 toughies. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm not taking anything from Madawan or Battle Creek Central. Battle Creek Central definitely has improved from last season. Mm-hmm. But Portage Northern has, I know one guy going to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And then you got Portage Central, which, Dave, you've been covering for a long time. I can't remember a team starting the season shutting out their opponents.
They did give up a field goal tonight.
So you're in 5 games, they've given up 3 points. That's something like you would post that you would find from the 1896 St. Joe football team.
Well, maybe, but I've got a research department for that one. Congratulations on your 400th broadcast. Yep. 300th St. Joe broadcast on WSJM.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Been a blessing. Able to, I grew up in St. Joe like you did. Coming here as a baby, I didn't watch him. Sat in the car with my mom as my brother played, and then after my brother graduated, I was young. My dad and I would go to most of the games, home and away, and then obviously had a chance to play. And then 6 years later, after graduating and done with college, chance to broadcast. And, it's been fun. I mean, you do it too. I mean, for fun. I mean, you enjoy being part of it's a great atmosphere. Yeah. It's a great community. And same with Lakeshore. I mean, they got a great community. Both schools are premier schools because they have each other. It's like
they forced each other to get better.
Exactly. I mean, if it was a one pony